Welcome to the Pittsburgh Gal Principal Podcast, where women school leaders and teachers come to share their school and classroom stories about teaching, learning, and leading. If you are a woman leader or teacher, I would love to have you on the show and share your story. Please connect with me on Twitter at eclaire_ahs or following my blog at pittsburghgalprincipal.wordpress.com. This is episode 17 of the Pittsburgh Gal Principal. Hi, everybody. I am super excited today to be chatting with Charmayne Polen. She is a high school English teacher in Youngstown, Ohio, which is basically in my backyard, 20 minutes away. I go to Youngstown all the time. So, Charmayne, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thanks.
So let's just start off by you giving a brief background of how you got started in education up to the point of today, where you're at today.
Okay. It actually was kind of a complete accident. I was not that kid that grew up, playing school like you hear so many teachers say. It really was not even on my radar. And when I went to college, I originally was majoring in communications and journalism. I wanted to be either a reporter or a journalist or something like that. So my first 2 years, I took all those classes, journalism, communication classes, and then something happened my sophomore year. We went on a field trip to a Cleveland news station. And I remember one of the newscasters telling me how cutthroat the industry was, and how she wished she had taken a different route. And that just really resonated with me. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this the industry that I want to be in for my career? I don't know. And all of my friends in college, my roommate in my dorm, everyone that I hung out with, they were all in education. And they would come back to the dorm and they would talk to me about their lesson plans and what they were doing. And my interest just got piqued, I guess. And I remember going at the end of my sophomore year into the woman who was in charge of the education program, Kathy Feather, who will forever be my favorite teacher. Aww. And she said, yeah, she was just phenomenal. But she said, okay, let's do this. So I got into the education program and fell in love with it. And it just felt like that's where I needed to be. So I got certified to teach communications. I had to go on and get my English certification. And like I said, it was just kind of an accidental thing, and I couldn't be happier.
Oh, that's good. Very cool. I mean, your friends kind of coerced you in a way that you didn't even know they were.
Yeah, including my future husband, because I went to college with him, and he started out as an elementary teacher, and now he's an administrator. But like I said, everyone they were all in those classes, and I just thought, wow, I think this is something that I could do. And it just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, very cool. Can you tell us a little bit about the high school in which you teach right now?
Sure. I teach at the Trumbull Career Center, which is in Warren, Ohio, which you're probably familiar with that too.
Sure.
But it's a 2-year career tech center. We have 30-some programs ranging from cosmetology to animal science, welding, all sorts of things. So it's really a cool school because we get kids from 20 different school districts. So we have kids from a little rural school called Southington, and then we've got the urban Warren City kids all come together. And it's pretty neat. But I do teach English there, so I'm an academic teacher rather than a program teacher. So it's very diverse, and it's also kind of cool because the instructional staff is made up of teachers who came out of the traditional teacher college, and then we've got people from industry who are just learning how to be teachers. So it's a pretty neat school.
Have you always been at that school, or did you start out somewhere else?
I started out actually in Dayton. My husband and I moved to Dayton. I taught inner city Dayton for a year. I had a baby, came back home. And then I taught at a little tiny school called Lordstown.
Okay.
And then I ended up here. This is my 14th year at TCTC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. I think career tech centers, if you don't really understand what they look like and their purpose of them today, they have a bad rap. Not in a bad way, but I think unfortunately people still have like a mindset of what a career tech center is all about, which is really different than what they do in the programs that they offer today versus what they offered 50 years ago. I mean, how do you feel like, or is there anything that the career tech center that you're working in now that does to try to dispel that myth?
Well, you're absolutely right. It's still that old. That's where all the rough kids go, and that mindset is still out there. But I think we're slowly changing it. We have offered a lot of different kinds of programs that appeal to a different variety of kids. We've got a biotech program. We've got ROTC. So we've got kids that want to go the college route. And then we've got kids, maybe in restaurant services that college isn't for them, but they still want to learn a trade. But so that's kind of dispelled that a little bit. But we're also offering a lot of college credit plus programs. And I actually teach when I teach the writing. And we have calculus and we have a literature class as well. So, we're catering to every kid, if that makes sense.
Right.
So that has helped a little bit with that mindset and that reputation that we have.
Yeah. One of the things that the high school that I work at does to try to dispel the myth as well is we bring all of our ninth graders to our career and technical center and introduce them to all of the programs they have to offer. Because what we were finding is that we would say, are you interested in going to our career tech center? And they would say no. And then we'd take them out there and they'd say, oh my gosh, they have this wonderful robotics program or, biomedical, like you say. Do you have any partnerships with local high schools in a similar kind of vein or?
We do. We actually have a career development specialist on staff, and that's part of her job to go out to the high schools and kind of, give our spiel and talk to we actually do it in 8th grade. Talk to the 8th graders about some of the programs. And then we have career days in January every year for sophomores who, might be thinking about it.
Okay.
And I tell you what, our numbers are through the roof right now. So I think a lot of people are really trying to take advantage of this, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are an adjunct professor at a local college as well. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's the College Credit Plus program through Youngstown State. And a couple of years ago, more than a couple, I guess about 5 years ago, we decided that we wanted to bring CCP into our building. I mean, we're getting that kind of kid now, that wants to go the college route, but maybe wants to learn a trade to get themselves through school or start with a trade and continue on with a 4-year degree. So we partnered with Youngstown State. And I actually originally was offered the position because I have national board certification. Mm-hmm. But then Ohio changed their laws, and you have to have 18 graduate credit hours in the content area. So I had, I think, 15. So I worked the last couple of years to get the last few. But so that's been pretty exciting. And I was actually part of the original 5 that started the writing program. So we were able to actually go to YSU for the day and basically create the curriculum for all of the schools in Mahoning and Trumbull and Columbiana County. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's very exciting. So let's talk about national board certification for a second. So I started my teaching career in North Carolina, which NBCT is huge. Like, everyone wants to do it. It's a huge honor. When I got to Pennsylvania, I was proud of my national board certification, and I had my little tagline at the bottom of my email, NBCT, and people would ask me, what does that mean? So is it a big thing? I'm curious, is it a big thing in Ohio or okay.
No, and it's so disappointing, as I'm sure you're disappointed too, because it's quite
rigorous.
Yeah, it's an accomplishment to get it. No, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they took away the stipend, which I wasn't doing it for the stipend. I just kind of wanted to do it. But, I don't know. And you know what, Emily, I get the same thing. What is that?
Yeah, what does that mean? So talk to the listeners about the process. I mean, I don't know how long ago it was that you received yours, but why do you think people should go through the process of getting their national board certification?
Oh my gosh, just the act of reflection. I mean, you know that. You have to reflect on absolutely everything that you do. And that's just something that I think is missing in teaching sometimes, partly because of time. I mean, nobody has time to sit back and go, okay, how did this lesson go? How would I do that better next time? Sometimes you're just trying to get through your day. So I think that was very, very important to do. And I think it also developed some leadership skills as well, because you did have to, I had to work with my principal and just kind of learn a little bit more about leadership of a school. And definitely, I mean, it's just all around. It was just a fabulous experience. And the collaboration, we actually had 5 in our school go through it the same year. We did it together. We decided, hey, if we're going to do this, let's kind of have a cohort in-house. And that really, I don't know, just kind of made us bond as colleagues and staff members, which still exists today. It's been about 8 years since I've done it.
Okay, I hope all 5 of you made it, because that would be tough.
Well, actually, there was one that did not, but she was able to make it the following year, so it was great. I mean, she was very excited after that. But yeah, so I just think I get frustrated when people say, "Well, I'm not going to do it because there's no money in it." Well, it's there's not a lot of, I don't know, teachers can't really move up, so to speak, if they plan to stay in teaching and not move into administration. So it's kind of that step in between teaching and administration.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of accolades as a teacher sometimes. And that's something, like you said, it's an accomplishment, something to be proud of.
Right.
I think the hardest part for me was the videotaping. I mean, I was, I don't know, about 8 months pregnant while I was doing the videotaping, so that made it more difficult. But I think, as you talk about reflection and how important that is, and obviously no one has time to videotape themselves every day, right. But, a couple times a year, it really would be good practice for teachers to put a video camera in and check out, what they're doing, the language they're using, the questions that they're asking, etc. And that's what National Board kind of forces you to do.
Definitely. And I think it also made me more of a student-centered teacher, so I could let go a little bit and, not be that person in charge all the time. I could kind of let go and let the students be in charge a little bit, which is what they need, which is best practice, I think. So.
Right. So let's talk a little bit more about a student-centered classroom. So, teaching English in 2016, how is that different, or is it different at all from when you first started teaching English? How many years ago did you say? 16?
16.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Do you ever think back in your first year teaching and think, oh, my goodness?
I just want to apologize to people. I was just talking about that the other day.
I know. I just think, oh, my gosh, it was horrific. Yeah, it's completely different. Our school, I'm really, really lucky. Our school has fabulous technology. We have one-to-one iPads.
Okay.
So to talk about how different it is, it's just 5 years ago, completely different. But just being able to incorporate the technology and the iPads has been phenomenal. And again, I was the sage on the stage. I was lecturing. They were taking notes, very traditional, because that's how I learned. But today you can't do that. I mean, you've got to teach these kids how to think. And one of my biggest frustrations, especially teaching some of these upper level classes, is that kids are so used to being told what to do that they struggle when I give them some freedom. Right, and for example, I do the Genius Hour in my classroom, and this is my 4th year doing it. And when I first started teaching, I never would have done Genius Hour, ever, because you have to relinquish a lot of control and just kind of see how things go. So that's been a change. I've become more confident with not knowing what's going to happen in my classroom. Whereas my first year, I wanted to be in complete control. So I think the confidence, has made a change. Using Genius Hour, using the technology has all changed my pedagogy and how I approach the classroom.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Now, have you read Innovator's Mindset?
I actually ran a book study at my school using it. So yes.
Okay, great. So, I read it a couple months ago, and now we're running a Voxer book chat about it.
Okay.
Because George Couros, the author, is doing his iMOOC that people can follow and do that. But anyways, on yesterday's Voxer, he said, he was talking about innovation and how innovation to himself is different than is a very individualized thing. So I'm thinking about what you're sharing here, the idea of using one-to-one iPads and the idea of a Genius Hour is probably not an innovative practice to you anymore because it seems like it's part of your daily instruction. But
Right.
for somebody else, it might be totally mind-blowing to even think about having kids walk around with an iPad all the time. So can you kind of go a little bit in more depth about what that looks like in your classroom?
Kind of a daily what my classroom looks like.
Yeah, like even give some examples of how your kids are using the iPads that might be different than, prior to having the iPads.
Sure. Well, I kind of have a routine every day. I start out with SSR. I'm a big Kelly Gallagher, Penny Kittle fan. So I like to start out with the SSR, student choice. We do some free writes, and I'll use a lot of the New York Times Learning Network to do that.
Okay.
Like the what's going on in this picture kind of thing, so they can look up information about it. So having the iPads with all that information at their fingertips has been phenomenal because they can give me answers. So, we'll do some of these things and I'll say, okay, you guys tell me, look it up. So we'll do a little bit of that, and then I'll get into the lesson, and we do things like use Go Formative, which is a really, really cool web-based. I don't think they have an app yet, but it's a really cool way for them to respond online. We watch a lot of TED Talks, those kinds of things, have discussions using Today's Meet.
Okay.
So those, being able to do those kinds of things have really opened up my classroom in the way that I do things. And also it's helped those kids that don't want to talk in class. Mm-hmm. So it's really helped me to draw out those quieter kids, and so I can still get a response out of them. But Fridays are my Genius Hour days. So
every Friday.
Every Friday, no matter what, is Genius Hour.
Okay, so talk more about that, because let's not assume that all listeners will know what Genius Hour is. I mean, I know what it is. You obviously know what it is. But just in case somebody doesn't know what a Genius Hour is, give us a brief definition.
Right. It is based off of the Google's 20% time where I don't think they do this anymore, but they used to give the employees 20% of their time to come up with just some really cool concepts that would help move the company forward. And Gmail and some other things came out as a result of that. So anyway, schools have been adapting that practice and giving kids 20% time to come up with ideas of their own and to put those ideas into action. So, like I said, this is my 4th year. So 3 years ago, we decided let's do this Genius Hour, and I collaborate with 2 other teachers. So we were kind of in cahoots with this together. But basically, it's the kids have to come up with something that they want to see change, or something, or something that they're really bad at they want to improve upon. And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be absolutely anything related to English. I've had kids want to learn how to bake. I've had kids want to raise money for breast cancer research. I had someone do a bowl-a-thon last year for Alzheimer's research. So it can be anything that they're passionate about, anything that they're concerned about. And they have to pretty much research it, create something, and present it at the end of the year in a TED Talk type presentation where I invite the entire school into the lecture hall, which they absolutely want to die at first.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. They're like, are you kidding me? But when they're done, it is the coolest thing because they're like, wow, I just did that. And so anyway, so I have a couple of components with it. I have them research. We use depth of knowledge questions to come up with questions that they have to research and answer, because I want them to become experts on this, geniuses on this. And we do once a month shares where they have to share something that they've done. So they have to have a social media presence as well. Twitter, Instagram accounts, blogs, anything like that. So once a month, we'll take the Friday and they will airplay their social media platform up on the screen and talk about what they've done to make it towards their goal.
Okay. Did you read Pure Genius, Don Wettrick?
I did not.
Okay. It sounds very similar. I mean, he started teaching an entire class on basically a genius hour. And so it's interesting, sort of some of the same things, some of the same structure that you're discussing. He talks a lot about in his book.
Okay. Hey,
you should have written a book.
I could have written a book. But anyway, so it's just kind of every Friday is a little bit different. Sometimes we'll watch TED Talks so we can analyze how their presentation skills are. We work a lot with presenting. Because if I'm expecting them to do this huge presentation at the end, I'm not just going to throw them in there and make them do it. So we work on that a little bit. So each Friday is a little bit different. Some Fridays they are gone. I don't even know. They just take off. We've got a maker space in our library. So they'll go into the green room and film. They'll they'll go somewhere else and write script if they're writing a screenplay. So I just kind of let them go on some Fridays. They're walking around the school, and I think my administration is kind of used to this at this point. But it's and having those iPads allow us to do that.
So Charmayne, how did you get to a point? You described your teaching, in year 2000 as very teacher-centered. You lectured, they took notes. To a point where every Friday now you're giving the students freedom to really explore something of interest. So, how did you get to that point? Was there something that inspired you to kind of take a leap, or what do you think helped make the shift?
I'll tell you what, Twitter has changed my teaching as well. And I remember I've been on Twitter for, I think, 5 years, and I remember my girlfriend was like, you need to get on Twitter. And I'm like, I really don't care what Ashton Kutcher's doing. Twitter seems so, I don't know, just so superficial. And I got on there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is gold.
Can you believe how many people are on, how many educators? It's amazing.
Amazing. So anyway, so I started jumping into Twitter chats. I've gone to ed camps. I just kind of immersed myself in the whole Twitter world, so to speak. And I think that helped give me the confidence to do it. I saw what other people were doing, and I thought, if they can do it, I can do it. So I kind of jumped in.
Well, that's cool. Where are there some local ed camps besides Pittsburgh?
Yeah, we went to I told you my husband's in education too. We went to Cleveland, I believe 3 times. And actually, I am putting together an ed camp at my school in August.
Oh, okay.
So,
August what?
Yeah, we have a leadership committee, and I came to my administration at the end of the year. I said, we are missing out. There is nothing around here. We've got the facility. We've got the technology. This is something we need to do. So they supported me, and we put together a little leadership team, and we're working on that.
Do you have a date yet? I want to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm looking at my calendar right now. I think it's August 3rd.
Okay. Oh, I was going on vacation then, but maybe I won't be.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll make sure to shoot you a text or something.
Yeah, but, we're also planning an ed camp leader for Pittsburgh for next summer, because we don't have one of those yet. We have an ed camp in Pittsburgh for, just teachers in general, educators in general, but not a leadership one.
Well, I would love to jump in that one because I'm almost done. I'm just finishing my hours for my admin license. So
yeah, everyone's invited. It's July. I think they do it the same date across the nation, is the way I understand it, in July at some point.
Okay.
I'll be tweeting out information about it once we get it planned. So let's talk about you and your husband being both educators, because I can empathize, sympathize, however you want to think about it, because my husband is also a teacher. He is a high school social studies teacher.
Okay.
So I'm curious to know how you guys keep the balance at home. Do you talk about school a lot? Are you able to shut it off?
It's funny that you asked that question, because just the other night, he and I went out to dinner, and I looked at him at one point and I said, we need to stop talking shop.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's so hard. Do you have the same in your house then?
Yeah, I like talking about it way more than my husband does, I think.
Okay. Okay. And it's funny too, you're an administrator and he's a teacher. So that's been I think that has helped both of us because sometimes he'll say things and I'm like, no, here's what the teachers would think of this.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? So it kind of or I'll say something about a decision made in my school and he'll say, well, this is probably why. So he'll give me the administrator point of view. So that's been really helpful, I think.
Okay, so what level is he at? A elementary, middle, high school?
Right now, he's at a elementary and middle. He was a superintendent for a whole district, left there, and now he's I don't even know what his whole title is, professional development something something. He's part of the administrative team at the elementary and middle school level.
Oh, wow. He went from being a superintendent job is like super difficult.
Oh, my goodness.
I never say never because I once said that I'd never be a high school principal, and now I'm a high school principal. So my superintendent asked me the other day, are you interested at all in ever being a superintendent? And I said, no. And then I said, well, never say never, but it seems really hard.
It's really hard. But life changes. You know, once your kids are a little bit older, maybe. But it definitely was an adjustment. And I will say I'm enjoying him not being a superintendent right now.
I bet. Now let's talk about you. So you're just a few classes short of finishing your admin license?
I'm done with all my coursework. I've taken all the tests. Everything's good. I'm just finishing up my hours. I think I have 200 hours left. Okay. And then I'm done. Then I have it.
Okay, cool. So will you get licensed in just Ohio, or will you also get licensed in PA since you're really close?
I think it's just Ohio, but I need to double check because I'm actually getting licensed out of Utah, if that makes sense. And then I have to apply for Ohio, but they're reciprocal or something. I'm not quite sure. But I'm not sure. I have to double check on that one. But yeah, the more I've been working with teachers, you know, doing the book study, being department head, presenting and just doing some professional development, I am really loving working with teachers. So my friend Aaron and I, he just finished his license, but he and I have been talking for years about doing it, and we just took the plunge and started it last year. So I just feel like I'm ready, you know? Okay,
so so you're ready, like job opens up, you're ready to apply kind of thing, ready? Or
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do. I love teaching, but I also love working with teachers and helping them in the classroom. I'm feeling that's kind of a niche, you know?
Yeah, I always say being a principal is the best job I've ever held.
Why is that?
Now, I've obviously lucky to have worked in amazing school districts. The school district that I'm at right now is probably one of the best school districts, the most supportive school districts I've ever worked in. So that makes it a little bit easier. But I get to know every single kid in the entire school, and that's pretty special.
That is pretty cool. Now, on a first name basis, when you walk through the halls, are you able to remember all those kids? That's a lot of kids.
Well, I'm still learning. My high school is pretty small. We only have a little bit less than 500. Okay. And this is my third year at the school, but last school year I was on maternity leave for almost the entire first semester. I had a baby on the very first day of school, which was actually the very first student day of me as high school principal, so that's an interesting story all in itself.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm still learning, but I should, by the end of the year, have almost every kid's name down.
That's awesome. And it's a 9 through 12 school. It's a traditional...
Currently, it's 9 through 12. So Avonworth is one of the fastest growing school districts in Allegheny County, it's just kind of cool. But so we have all this transition stuff happening, and next school year I'll just be responsible for 10 through 12.
Okay.
But we're kind of all under the same building, middle school and high school, like the same physical building. So,
okay, nice.
Do you have a preference for what level you want to be an administrator at, or are you kind of open to all?
I'm kind of open to all, but I'll tell you, I love high school kids. I really do. But definitely open to all. But that's just, I think, where I feel most comfortable, and I can relate to these kids, and I know where they're coming from. And I really like high school kids. It's so funny when my husband and I were both teachers, he taught third grade. And everyone assumed that I was the elementary teacher and he was the high school teacher.
Right.
And which I thought was always kind of funny. And
I think that's a bit of a gender bias.
A little bit, don't you think?
I think so.
But no, I've just always really liked high school kids. They really, truly are small children, but taller. They have the same needs. They really do. But I don't know. I just like the high school kids. But yeah, I'm open to anything. My license will be, I believe it's K through 12.
Yeah.
So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you luck with that. Do you have any other professional plans coming up? Any conferences that you will be presenting at, or articles that you plan on writing, or books? I was joking before, but I feel like there's all these wonderful, great books out right now, and everyone has a great story to tell. So,
I know Dave Burgess, and
isn't that man amazing? I think he's amazing.
He's amazing. My husband had him at his school a couple years ago.
Really? He's not even only wrote his own book, but has his own publishing company. Like, my goodness.
And it's supporting all of these educators. You know what I mean? That to me is amazing. Because where else would all these educators have a forum to do this? He has just created this whole other, I don't know, I just think he's so cool. Eric, I don't know if you saw the Your School Rocks book.
Yes, I've read that one, yes.
Yeah,
Ryan McLean.
Yeah, Eric was a principal at Kent School when he was the superintendent, and Eric is now the superintendent where my husband was.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's just really cool. My husband and I joke all the time we should write a book together. But
you should. Absolutely you should.
I know.
And you can send the draft to Dave Burgess, and he can publish it for you.
There you go. And I could make my millions and retire, right?
And I spend $1 gazillion on Amazon every month, so I'm sure I'll order it.
Amen. But, no, I'm going to a couple English teacher conferences. There's one at Youngstown State I'm going to go to next month. I'm not presenting. Sometimes I just want to go and absorb,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I'm doing that. I did present last year in Columbus we're part of High Schools That Work.
Okay.
Which is a school improvement initiative, I guess, but it's part of our CIP at our school. So we presented last year on implementing the iPads, how we went one-to-one, because we started out with classroom iPads, and then we eventually went to one-to-one. This is our third year, but I was part of the original pilot program, so we presented on that last year. And then, like I said, putting together that ed camp, and probably we'll go to another ed camp in the spring because they're usually in May. So,
yeah, are you going to go to the one in Cleveland, or?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's one coming up in November, I believe, in Pittsburgh at Fox Chapel High School.
Ooh, maybe I should check it out.
Yeah, it's on a Saturday if you wanted to take the trip up to Pittsburgh. There's some pretty cool things happening in the Pittsburgh region.
Okay, I'll check that out. It's just as far to get to Cleveland as it is to get to Pittsburgh, so.
Yeah, true. Pittsburgh's better.
Oh, of course.
I'm just kidding.
So that's where I'm at right now. Just have really kind of reinvigorated my classroom the last 5 years using technology and Genius Hour, and just kind of ready to take that next step. So
yeah, let me ask you just one last question. So you talked about how Twitter helped kind of, motivate you to think a little bit differently about what you had going on in your classroom. Are all the teachers in your school on Twitter, or are there still a couple people who are kind of like, not interested?
Oh, the majority are not interested.
Okay. How do you think we get them there? How do you think we have, help them see that, there are a lot of really cool, passionate, inspiring educators on there who we can all learn a lot from?
Absolutely. I've tried, and the big thing that I hear is I don't have time, but then I see them on Facebook, and I think, okay, so I don't know. I just sometimes think, I don't know. Honestly, I wish I knew. We have tried. We have had presenters come in. We have tried hashtags. Even when I did the Innovators Mindset book study, I tried to just completely do it on Twitter. We met face to face, and then we did some online stuff. I tried to do the online stuff on Twitter.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know. Do you have the same experience?
Yeah, I don't know that we've been as intentional at my high school about trying to encourage people. That's kind of been one of my goals this year, is just kind of sharing with my staff how excited I get from connecting with people on Twitter. And I'm hoping I'm taking more of an organic approach, if you will, kind of. But I don't know if I don't know if that's best either. So I just try to share different things with people, and I say, I found this on Twitter, as in like a little hint that, there's really cool things that you can find on there, and I'm doing some professional development here coming up, so we'll kind of see where it goes. I don't know, I just feel like you said, people, often use there's not enough time. So is that a reason? Is that an excuse? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I've had a couple people, when I talked about Twitter chats, they almost seemed intimidated, which I was at first. I completely get it. It's kind of scary. You're throwing yourself out there. And so I think maybe some are intimidated by it. But honestly, when I go to do a lesson plan and I need some research, I go to Twitter. And when I tell people that, they're shocked. Seriously? And I said, yeah, I do. I just find so much good information. So we've got a few. We've got a handful, which is fine. So, maybe when they see just a few of us doing it, maybe they'll, like you said, kind of organically, it'll grow.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't care which platform people use, but I think it's important in the year 2016 for people to be connected beyond the walls of their classroom. So if that means they're connected with, a small group in the school, that's great. I think it'd be even better if they could connect with, educators anywhere. But whether that's on, a Google group or a Facebook group or Twitter, whatever, I just think it's really, really important and valuable for people to get off their island. If I can quote Adam Welcome from Kids Deserve It, I believe that's. Have you read that book too?
I haven't, but that's another Dave Burgess book.
I know. I feel like I have his whole line of books.
I know. My husband has it, actually, so I can steal it from him.
Yeah, it's a quick read. It's good for, keeping your motivation up.
Sure.
So, okay, so Charmayne, how can people connect with you if they want to know more about what you have going on in your classroom?
Sure. I do have, obviously my Twitter account, and I do have a website, blog, whatever, and I need to be better about updating it because I haven't been.
Oh, me too. I'm horrible at it.
Oh, terrible. And I go through spurts where I just get really excited and I put, like 5 posts up and then nothing. So I do need to get better at that. But my goal this year for Genius Hour is to have some kind of a platform. I haven't decided what I want yet, but to just show what my kids are doing. There's some really cool videos out there, of teachers that have had the kids videotape some of their projects. So I'm kind of working with a little bit of that. I just have to figure out what platform I want, but I will definitely post it. So, anything on Twitter I'm putting out there, but I do want to have a specific Genius Hour website, blog, something to really showcase my kids this year.
Yeah, very cool. Now, have you heard of the Genius Hour Fair? So one of my guests, I don't know, a few episodes ago, she's an educator in Australia. And she had that same, sense of, I really want to share out work, but I don't want to just share out my kids' work. I want to share out work from students around the globe. And she started this thing called Genius Hour Fair. I believe I have that right. I'll have to tweet it to you. Her name is Eleni Karitzis. And she does. It's sort of like a competition, but it's more of a showcase in which you can submit your work to her Genius Hour Fair website. And then I'm not 100% where it goes from there, but it's, again, this large platform of trying to share out the work that kids are doing around the world.
That's really cool. Would you send that to me?
Absolutely, I will. I'd be happy to. Can you just real quickly rattle off your Twitter handle as well as your blog?
Sure. It's just at Charmayne Polen, CHAR, MaynePolen. And then my link to my blog is on my, what do you call it, the bio. But it's Polen's Place, POLENSPLACE.wordpress.com.
Okay, very cool. So, Charmayne, this is sort of related, I guess, but are you on Voxer at all?
I am not, no.
Okay, well, that's your next your next sort of innovative hack, I guess, if you will. Because I was just thinking, wouldn't it be cool to do your next book, club with the teachers at your school with teachers from elsewhere, like maybe at my school, and just being able to, hear and have a conversation with other high school teachers that are sort of local, just to try to push people to kind of get off their island.
Got it. I'm looking it up right now on my phone.
Yeah, I would be happy. We're doing a Innovators Mindset Voxer book chat right now, and there's over 100 educators from across the world on this book chat. So if you get on there, I can add you to it, and you can kind of get a sense for how it all works. You don't have to participate at all if you don't want to, but of course you can jump in.
That would be great.
It's very cool. I don't know. It's sort of a neat idea to get people to talk about ideas from a book, beyond the people in their school. So anyways.
That would be great. Thank you. When I did it I created an iTunes U course for it.
Okay, cool.
Just because we all have iPads and it's a common platform, but I will definitely check this out.
Okay, cool.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, I have really enjoyed talking to you, Charmayne. It's like you're right here in my backyard, but you're so far away.
I know. It'd be great if we could meet in person. So I will definitely check out some of those Pittsburgh ed camps and definitely look for you there.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I hope you have a good evening and you get some good rest for tomorrow's 5 a.m. alarm clock goes off.
I know. Same to you. All right, take care. Thank you so much for inviting me and for taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely. I'm glad we finally got to connect.
Okay. All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for listening in on the Pittsburgh Gal Principal Podcast. I am always excited to connect with women in education, learn how they are balancing work and home, as well as challenging the status quo about what it means to be a successful woman. My podcast is all about elevating the voices of women. So please share these stories with your friends and your colleagues. Find me on Twitter at @eclaire_ahs. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.